I'd like to talk about nothing left unsaid and what I mean by that. But before we jump into that, I would like to say hello, I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're here for the first time, you're very, very welcome. Nothing left unsaid. Now, I've done similar videos, but let's just jump into this. I have clients that I counsel, I support, I befriend, who have experienced loss, child loss most of the time. And so many of my clients say to me, at some point in the session, say to me, I wish I had said this, I wish I had said that, I wish I had not worked so hard and spent more time with my loved one, generally, or before they were going to pass away, if they had the opportunity to think about that. And so I really wanted to make a video about it. I have messages on my phone, WhatsApp messages that my son sent to me, and I lost my son sadly 4 years ago, those of you who don't know. And those messages meant so much to me when I received them, but they mean so, so much more to me now after having lost my son. The messages similar to, you're the best mum in the world, and that might be, for Mother's Day. It might have been an apology because we had an argument, just a silly argument, and he apologized through messaging. It might be little emojis, it might be little pictures of, cartoon characters of mother and child, and so on and so forth. And these messages mean so much to me. And, I have, copied them on hard drive so that I have copies of them, but, they're on my phone and I do look through them every so often, and they mean so much. So there's so many times when people share with me, I wish I had said this, or did they know how much I loved them? Did they know how much they meant to me? And, so many times I'm thinking, yes, I'm sure they did. I'm sure your child knew how much they meant to you. But when we're grieving and when we're hurting and when there's so many emotions going on around us, we can sometimes forget things. We can sometimes feel guilt, and that guilt can be so consuming and it can take over so much of our, logical thinking. We're not thinking logically. There probably will have been lots of times that you told your loved one that you loved them, but you just can't think about it right now because you're hurting so much. If I think back to my childhood, and I grew up at a time, it might have been a generational, a difference. It might be a cultural difference because my parents grew up in a country different to where I was born and brought up. So there was a cultural difference as well. But I know that my parents didn't go around, hugging me all the time and telling me how much they loved me all the time. But did I know that they loved me? Yes, I did. It was quite clear that they loved me very, very much. But we weren't a family where, we were all so tactile, hugging and, kissing and, telling each other how much we loved them all the time. It just wasn't that. It wasn't a culturally acceptable thing at that time to do that. And, so a lot of you will know what I'm talking about. But it's different, in this last, generation of when I brought up my children. It's quite different. I tell my children every so often that I love them, how much they mean to me, and they tell me. So it is a difference in, culturally and generational differences. I get that. But at the same time, I feel that it is quite important to say the things that you want to say the things that you how you feel about people around you. Do you know something that gets me is, when someone passes away and you're there to, let's say you're in a room full of people paying your respects, And there's so many things that people are saying, oh, she was such a lovely person, and she was so this, and she was so charitable, and she never, she went out of her way to make people happy. All these things are said about he or she or whoever. And I sort of sit there thinking, did that person know in their lifetime that you felt that way? Or is it just something that we're saying now after that person's passed? And I think that's so sad if that person didn't know and you never sort of shared that. And so many of us are like that. So, if you just think about it, even on the news, when you hear somebody famous has passed away and they were well known for this and well known for that, and I think, were they? I didn't know that about them. I didn't know that they did that in their lifetime. So what I'm trying to say is, these things are left unsaid. We didn't say those things to our loved ones when we knew them. Sorry, not when we knew them, but when they were here, when we could have done. And so why are we saying these things about them once they've passed away? And I think, well, okay, we're just talking about that person, but these are actual qualities about that person. Did that person know that they had those qualities? Did anyone ever point that out to them? I wonder. And I think it's quite sad. And I feel that we should share. We should say, because we're so quick, aren't we, at picking up on the things that, on people's flaws. Or you didn't do this, and you're not good at that, and you're not good at this, and you don't, you let me down. And there's so many times when we talk about those things, the negativities about people, we don't always focus in on the positives. Oh, by the way, when you did such and such, thank you. Thank you for doing that. It meant so much. It's so kind of you and so thoughtful of you. And saying those things to each other, I think it's quite important. I think it's a shame, and I do hear it again about people saying, I wish I'd worked a lot, I wish I'd not worked quite so hard to try and provide for my family. Because usually the things that people remember, like children remember, is that time that you spent with them, not so much, that expensive holiday you took them on. It's not so much that, it's the time you spent. And that might have been those Sunday mornings when you were having breakfast together and having those chats together and just being silly together, just chatting and laughing and enjoying each other's company. And you'll find that usually your children will say, those are the times that they actually remember, not, anything that, oh, I remember that time when you bought me that designer suit, tracksuit. That's probably not something that's going to be in their long-term memory. It will be the good times. It will be that picnic you spontaneously went off to have in the, in your park or at the beach or whatever. It'll be just so spontaneous things about, quality time, spending time together. And those will be the things that they'll probably remember. So yeah, if you're thinking that, if I've got you thinking, have I said the things I wanted to say to the people I want to say them to? If the answer is no, then do it. Do it now. We don't have the past. We don't know what the future what future we have, how long we have. All we have is now. So if it means picking up the phone, sending a text message, sending a WhatsApp message, sending an email, do it. Do it now, so that there's nothing left unsaid. Yeah. Thank you for listening to this video. I hope the content of it has been helpful. If you feel that someone would benefit from it, please do share it. Please do like, subscribe, comment. Let's get a conversation going. And thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you for those of you who have subscribed. I really, really do appreciate it, but we need so many more in order to build this platform, this community. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls. Thank you.